The Stone Shadow of Kolkata. Part 1. The Stones Remember. The monsoon rain poured, thundering on the corrugated tin roofs. Distant tram bells clanged. The Hooghly River churned. ACP Meera Rathod stood in her cramped office at Noida Police Headquarters. The ceiling fan rotated slowly, barely moving the July heat. Her desk was covered with files. 3 active murder investigations, 2 fraud cases, 1 missing person. All of them would have to wait. The package had arrived that morning and was hand-delivered by courier from the Delhi Police Headquarters. A large cardboard box, sealed with red evidence tape. Inside, 12 manila folders. A handwritten note paper-clipped to the top folder. She reread the note. ACP Rathod, Commissioner's Orders, Cold Case Review Assignment, Stoneman Murders, Kolkata, 1989 to 1990. 12 victims, 0 arrests. Your reputation precedes you. Solve the unsolvable. Report due in 30 days. DCP Sharma. Meera set down the note, opened the first folder. The photograph inside showed a man's face, barely recognizable as human. The skull had been crushed, flattened. The force required would have been immense. She'd seen many crime scene photos in her career. This one made her pause. Not because of the gore. She was past being shocked by violence, but because of the method, the deliberateness, the sheer physical effort required. Whoever had done this had stood over a sleeping homeless man, lifted a 30-kilogram stone, and brought it down with enough force to shatter bone. Then walked away, found another victim 8 days later, did it again. 12 times. ACP Rathod. Ma? Her son's voice, Arjun, 7 years old, calling from her mother-in-law's house. Meera spoke in a calm, gentle tone. Beta, what's wrong? You should be at school. Half day today. Teacher training. Daddy said I could call you. Meera checked her watch. 11:30. AM, half day. She'd forgotten. Of course, beta. How was school? Fine. Ma, when are you coming home? You said you'd help me with my science project. The science project. The model of the solar system. She'd promised to help him paint the planets this weekend. She looked at the 12 folders on her desk. The note. 30 days. Beta, Ma has to travel for work. A big case. Very important. Silence on the other end. Then, you always have big cases. His voice was small, matter of fact, no anger, just acceptance. That hurt more than anger would have. I know, beta, I'm sorry, but this is just for a few weeks, then I'll be home, and we'll finish your project together, I promise. Okay, Ma. I love you, Arjun. Love you too. He hung up. ACP Meera Rathod held the phone for a moment before setting it down. She looked at the photograph again, the crushed skull, the homeless victim who'd had no one to promise anything to. Someone had to speak for him, for all 12 of them. That someone was her. She picked up her office phone, dialed her superior's extension. Sir, ACP Rathod, I need authorization for travel to Kolkata. Minimum 3 weeks. And I'll need to pull Inspector Vikram Singh from Cyber Cell for technical support. The voice on the other end was gruff. Senior Superintendent Kana. Approved. Vikram's already been briefed. He'll meet you at the airport. Your flight leaves at 4 p.m. Don't make me regret recommending you for this, Meera. I won't, sir. She hung up, began packing the 12 folders into a weathered leather briefcase, the one she'd carried since her IPS training days. On top of the folders, she placed her personal journal, the Bhool Bhulaiya, her maze of the forgotten, the leather-bound notebook where she kept every unsolved case she'd ever encountered. This one would go in there. Whether she solved it or not, but she would solve it. She always did. The flight to Kolkata was delayed by an hour. Monsoon weather. Meera sat in the departure lounge, reading through the case files, making notes in the margins. Victim 1, Ramesh Thakur, age around 30, homeless, College Street, September 4th, 1989. Victim 2, Shyamal Das, age around 35, homeless, Sealdah Station, September 12th, 1989. Victim 3, Koka, no surname, age around 45, homeless, Kaligat, September 20th, 1989. The pattern was immediate, all homeless, all male, all killed on pavements between midnight and 4 a.m. The case files from 1989 were thorough. The investigating officers had done everything right with the tools they had. 300 witness interviews, door-to-door surveys, sketches based on descriptions, pavement patrols, undercover operations. Nothing had worked. The killer had simply stopped in February 1990. 12 victims, no arrests. Case went cold. 13 years later, someone in Delhi police had decided it was time to try again. With new forensic techniques, new technology, and with ACP Meera Rathod, the Naali Rani, the woman who saw patterns in drainage systems and shadows. Her phone buzzed. A text from Inspector Vikram Singh. Ma'am, landed in Kolkata, waiting at baggage claim. Hotel booked near Lal Bazaar. You'll want to see it? She smiled slightly. Vikram was efficient, young, 32 years old, a tech genius who understood her methods, even when senior officers didn't. He was also one of the few people who'd seen her activate grid sight, who'd watched her stand motionless at a crime scene for 5 minutes, eyes closed, then announce the killer's height, weight, and approach vector. She trusted him. That was rare. They landed at Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Airport at 7:15 p.m. The monsoon had intensified. Rain hammered the tarmac. Vikram met her at baggage claim. He was dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, plain shirt, no uniform, smart. Ma'am, he took a suitcase. Traffic will be bad. The hotel is 40 minutes in this rain. Show me the files first, we'll work in the car. He grinned. I brought printouts and a tablet. Thought you'd say that. They climbed into the waiting Ambassador, white with a yellow top, classic Kolkata taxi. The driver navigated through flooded streets. Water came up to the hubcaps in some areas. Vikram opened his tablet. I pulled everything from the Kolkata police archives, digital scans of the 1989 files, plus newspaper clippings, media coverage. It was massive, Mom. Front page for 3 months. He showed her the headlines. Stoneman strikes again. 5th victim found near Esplanade. Police helpless as serial killer terrorizes homeless. Is Stoneman a psychopath or a vigilante? That last one made her pause. Vigilante? Vikram scrolled to the article. Some columnists theorized the killer was targeting homeless people deliberately, cleaning up the streets. There were op-eds debating whether he was evil or performing a service. Meera's jaw tightened. 12 human beings murdered in their sleep, and people called it a service. Different time, Mom. 1989. Homeless population was huge in Kolkata. Government programs weren't what they are now. She knew he was right, but it didn't make it less sickening. The devaluation of human life, the assumption that some lives mattered less than others. That was the real crime. The murders were just the symptom. What else? Vikram showed her a map. I geo-referenced all 12 crime scenes using the address data. Look at this. The map showed central Kolkata, 12 red pins. At first glance, they looked random, scattered across several kilometers, but ACP Meera Rathod saw it immediately. A spiral. Vikram nodded. Exactly. Starting from College Street, Each murder site is slightly farther from the center than the last, like someone walking outward in a slow spiral, or traveling outward, following a route. A route? She pointed at the dates. Look at the intervals. 8 days between most kills. That's not random. That's a schedule. The killer had a routine. Every 8 days, he traveled his route. And he killed. Vikram's eyes widened. Like a delivery route, a patrol route? Possibly. We need to find out what kind of work required someone to be in all these locations between midnight and 4 a.m. in 1989. She stared at the spiral. The pattern was clear now. Mathematical. Precise. This wasn't a chaotic killer. This was someone organized. Methodical. Someone who had stopped killing not because he was caught, but because... What? He moved away, died, went to prison for something else, or just decided to stop? The taxi pulled up to the hotel, a modest place on Ripon Street. Walking distance from Lal Bazaar Police Headquarters. ACP Meera Rathod paid the driver, grabbed her suitcase. "Check in, ma'am?" Vikram asked. She shook her head. "No. Drop the bags at reception. We're going to Lal Bazaar." "Tonight, it's almost 8 p.m. The files are there. I want to see them. The physical files. Paper has a memory, Vikram. Digital scans don't capture everything." He didn't argue, just smiled. "I'll call Inspector Bose. He's expecting us." Chunk 2, ready to copy. Lal Bazaar at night was quieter than during the day, but still alive. The old colonial building hummed with activity. Constables filing reports, duty officers answering phones. Inspector Bose met them at the entrance, mid-40s, Bengali, round face, kind eyes. He'd been a constable in 1989 during the Stoneman investigation. "ACP Rathod, welcome to Kolkata." He shook her hand formally. Then Vikram's. "Inspector Singh, the conference room is ready. I've laid out all the files." They followed him up worn marble stairs, down a corridor lit by flickering tube lights, into a large conference room with a wooden table that had probably been there since British times. On the table, 12 files, spread out in chronological order. ACP Meera Rathod approached slowly. Didn't touch them yet, just looked. Each file was thin, maybe 10 pages. A crime scene photo, a basic medical report, witness statements, nothing more. 1989 forensic protocols, Bose said apologetically. "We didn't have DNA testing. Fingerprinting was basic. Most evidence was witness testimony." Which was contradictory. "Completely, ma'am. No two witnesses agreed on anything. Height, build, clothing, approach direction. It was like they saw different people." Meera nodded. Or they didn't see anyone. Memories fill in gaps. Especially when media attention is intense. People want to help. So they convince themselves they saw something. She picked up the first file. Opened it. Victim: Ramesh Thakur. Age: approximately 30 years. Occupation: unknown, homeless. Last known address: none, pavement dweller. Date of death: September 4th, 1989. Time: between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. estimated. Location: College Street, North Side, near Coffee House. Cause of death: blunt force trauma to skull. Weapon: granite slab, approximately 30 kilograms recovered at scene. The crime scene photos showed the body where it had been found. A man lying on his side. Head crushed. The granite slab beside him. The slab was large, rectangular, grey granite, one edge broken. Meera studied the photo, the positioning. The victim had been sleeping on his right side, face toward the wall. The stone had fallen on the left side of his head, meaning the killer had approached from the open side, from the street. She closed her eyes. College Street, 1989, September, monsoon season. Victim sleeping, right side. Sheltered spot near Coffee House. Why this spot? Protected from rain, wall on one side, awning above, good sleeping location. Killer approaches from street, carrying stone, 30 kilograms. How far did he carry it? Stone is granite. Case file says construction debris, but no construction sites listed nearby. Either brought from distance or stored nearby. Cached. Killer prepared. She opened her eyes, looked at Bose. The stone. Where is it now? Bose shook his head. Not preserved, ma'am. In 1989, we didn't have storage for large evidence items like that. After the case went cold, everything was discarded. We only kept photos and papers. ACP Meera Rathod felt a flicker of frustration. Not at Bose, at the system, at 1989's limited resources. The other 11 stones? Same, ma'am, all discarded. She moved to the second file. Victim 2, Shamal Das, Sealdah Station. September 12th, same pattern. Homeless man sleeping. Stone dropped on head. Dead before sunrise. Third file. Fourth. Fifth. She read through all 12 files in silence. Vikram and Bose waited. When she finished, she stood back, looked at the spread of files on the table. 12 victims, 12 stones, 8-day intervals, spiral pattern, all between midnight and 4 a.m., all homeless men, all sleeping outdoors. She turned to Bose. The original investigation theory was what? Multiple theories, ma'am. Serial killer targeting homeless, vigilante, psychopath. One officer even theorized it might be multiple killers copying each other. What did you think? You were there? Bose was quiet for a moment, remembering. I was just a constable, 23 years old. It was my first year on the force. I thought it was someone who hated the homeless, someone who saw them as less than human. Because? Because of the method, ma'am. Dropping a heavy stone requires no skill, no knife work, no strangulation technique, just brute force, like crushing an insect. Meera nodded slowly. That was one interpretation, but there was another. Or someone who wanted to use a method that left no trace evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA transfer, no weapon that could be traced. Just stones found at construction sites. Bose blinked. Do you think it was calculated, not emotional? I think it was both. Emotional enough to kill 12 times, calculated enough to never leave a clue. She pulled out her own notebook, started sketching. I need several things. First, a large map of Kolkata, detailed, with street names. Second, I need to visit every crime scene. Tomorrow morning. We start at 5 a.m. Third, I need contact information for the Geological Survey of India office here. I want to speak with a geologist. Vikram made notes on his tablet. A geologist, ma'am, for what? The stones, they might all look the same, but granite varies by source, by quarry. If we can determine where the stones came from, we narrow down the killer's access points. Bose looked doubtful. Ma'am, respectfully, the stones were discarded 23 years ago. How can a geologist help now? The crime scene photos show the stones. A trained geologist can analyze the granite type from photos. Grain structure, color, weathering patterns, it's not perfect, but it's something. She turned back to the files. Something was nagging at her. The timing, the 8-day intervals. She pulled out her phone, opened the calendar app, set the date to September 1989, September 4th, September 12th, September 20th, September 28th. She tapped each date, looked at the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She frowned, counted forward. October 5th, Thursday, October 13th, and Friday, October 21st, Saturday. The days varied. Not consistent, so it wasn't a specific day of the week. It was the interval. 8 days, sometimes 7, sometimes 9, but averaging 8. Why 8 days? She looked at Vikram. What happens every 8 days? He thought. Nothing specific, ma'am. It's not a standard work schedule, not a weekly pattern. Unless the work cycle isn't based on weeks. What if it's based on something else? Like what? She didn't know yet, but there was a pattern here. Buried under 13 years of cold case dust. She just had to find it. It was past midnight when they finally left Lal Bazaar. Bose arranged for a constable to drive them back to the hotel. In the back seat, Vikram yawned. Mom, you should rest. We start at 5 a.m. ACP Meera Rathod was staring out the window. Rain streaked the glass. Kolkata's streets were flooded. The monsoon had intensified. Tell me about the homeless population in 1989, Vikram. How many people were living on Kolkata's streets? He scrolled through his research notes. Estimates varied between 50 and 80,000 people citywide, mostly in central areas, near railway stations, markets, temple areas. And in 2003, now? Lower, maybe 30,000. Government shelters, NGO programs. The numbers went down. Meera nodded. So in 1989, you had tens of thousands of potential victims, but only 12 were killed. Over 6 months, that's selective. Selective how? The killer could have killed more, much more, but he stopped at 12. Why? Maybe he was scared. Police patrols increased after the third murder. Possibly. Or maybe 12 was always the plan, 12 and done. The car pulled up to the hotel. They got out. Vikram carried a suitcase to the reception desk. Get some sleep, Vikram. I'll see you at 5. You're going to sleep too, right, ma'am? She smiled slightly. Of course. She was lying. They both knew it. In her hotel room, ACP Meera Rathod unpacked quickly, hung up her spare uniform, set her service weapon in the bedside drawer. Then she spread the 12 crime scene photos across the bed, arranged them in chronological order. She sat on the floor, back against the bed, staring at the photos. 12 men, 12 crushed skulls, 12 lives ended. Each photo showed not just the body, but the location, the pavement, the walls, the awning or lack thereof. She studied the backgrounds, the architectural details, College Street, British-era buildings, brick walls, narrow pavements, Sealdah Station, open area, covered platform nearby, Kalighat, temple wall, stone construction, white pavement. Each location was different, but each provided shelter, a place where a homeless person would choose to sleep. The killer hadn't selected his victims, he'd selected the locations, and the victims were whoever happened to be sleeping there. That was important. That changed the profile. This wasn't personal, this wasn't about specific people. This was about the locations themselves, about a route, a pattern, a ritual. She pulled out her journal, the Bhool Bhulaiya, turned to a blank page. At the top she wrote, The Stone Shadow, Kolkata, 1989. Below that, she began making notes. 12 victims, 6 months, 8-day interval, average. Spiral pattern, outward from College Street, all homeless men. All outdoor sleepers. Murder weapon, heavy stones, 20 to 30 kilograms. Time, midnight to 4 a.m. Method, blunt force, single strike. No witnesses, no forensics, no arrests. She stared at the list. The pattern was clear, but the why remained hidden. Why did someone do this? What did 12 homeless men represent? What did the 8-day interval mean? And most importantly, why did the killer stop? She lay back on the floor, stared at the ceiling. The hotel fan rotated slowly. Tomorrow, she would walk the crime scenes. She would activate grid sight at each location. She would see what the 1989 investigators couldn't see. Because she had something they didn't have. She had hindsight, distance, modern forensics, and she had the grid. Her ability to see spaces in layers, to reconstruct timelines, to map patterns invisible to others. The stoneman had walked away from 12 murders, 13 years ago. But he'd left traces. Everyone did. The stones remembered. The pavements remembered. The walls remembered. Tomorrow, she would make them speak. 5 a.m. came fast. ACP Meera Rathod hadn't slept. She'd spent the night studying the photos, making notes, building mental maps. She met Vikram in the hotel lobby. He looked tired but alert, handed her a cutting chai in a small glass. "Thought you'd need this, Mom." She accepted gratefully. The sweet, strong tea was perfect. Inspector Bose arrived 5 minutes later in an unmarked police jeep. He'd brought a young constable as driver. "Ready, Mom?" "Yes, let's start at the beginning. College Street, the first victim." They drove through early morning Kolkata. The city was waking up. Street vendors setting up, trams beginning their routes. The monsoon had paused, leaving puddles reflecting grey sky. College Street was crowded even at dawn. Students, book vendors, tea stall owners. The jeep stopped near a coffee house. Bose pointed to a spot on the pavement. "Victim 1 was found there, ma'am, against that wall." Meera stepped out. The pavement was narrow, maybe 5 feet wide. On one side, the street. On the other, a brick building wall. Above, an awning extended from a closed bookshop, providing shelter from rain. She stood where the body had been found, looked up, looked around, closed her eyes. September 4th, 1989, College Street, 2 a.m. monsoon season. Rain likely. This spot is sheltered, protected. Victim, Ramesh Thakur. Sleeping position, right side, face to wall. Killer approaches. From which direction? Load the environment. The street in 1989. College Street, cobblestone pavement in 1989. Now paved with concrete. But the walls remain. The building line remains. Sight lines from the street limited. The awning blocks view from above. The wall blocks view from the side. Perfect spot for the victim. Privacy shelter. Perfect spot for the killer. No witnesses. Stone. 30-kilogram granite slab. Case file says found at scene. But where did it come from? Construction site. No sites listed in vicinity, then brought. Carried. How far? Maximum carry distance for 30 kilograms by average male. 200 meters before significant fatigue. Scan radius. Where within 200 meters could granite slabs be stored in 1989? Option 1, construction depot. Option 2, stone mason shop. Option 3, sculpture studio. Option 4, building materials warehouse. All possibilities. But which one? Need more data. Move to next crime scene. Meera returns to normal voice. She opened her eyes. Bose and Vikram were watching her. "Ma'am?" Bose asked carefully. "I need to know what businesses were within 200 meters of this spot in 1989. Specifically, anyone who dealt with stone, mason shops, sculpture studios, construction material suppliers." Bose made a note. "I can check municipal records." "Do it. Now take me to the second scene, Sealdar Station." They moved through the city, crime scene to crime scene. ACP Meera Rathod repeated the same process at each location. Stand where the body was found. Close your eyes. Activate grid sight. Map the environment. Calculate distances. Analyze approach vectors. By the 7th scene, Park Street, a pattern began to emerge. every single location was within 200 meters of a major road intersection. A traffic junction. That meant something. But what? At the 10th scene, Malik Ghat, she found something new. The location was near the Hooghly River, a covered area under a bridge. The victim had been sleeping on a stone embankment. Meera stood there, looked up at the bridge, then at the river, then at the pavement leading to the bridge. And she saw it. The pavement was old, British era, made of granite paving stones, weathered, worn, but still solid. She crouched down, ran her hand across one of the paving stones, then pulled out the crime scene photo for this location. Victim 10. The murder weapon shown in the photo was a granite paving stone, identical to the ones under her hand. Bose, this pavement, how old? Very old, ma'am, maybe 100 years, British construction, granite slabs from local quarries. Meera stood. I need to see all 12 crime scene photos again. Focus on the murder weapons. Back in the jeep, she spread the photos across her lap, studied each stone visible in each photo. Victim 1, grey granite slab, rectangular. Victim 2, similar grey granite, broken edge. Victim 3, granite paving stone, weathered. Victim 4, granite blocks, squared edges. She looked at Vikram. Call the geological survey. I need that geologist. Today. Yes, ma'am. By noon, they'd visited all 12 crime scenes. ACP Meera Rathod's notebook was full of measurements, angles, sight lines, environmental observations, and questions, so many questions. They returned to Lal Bazaar for lunch. Bose's phone rang as they entered the conference room. He answered, listened, then covered the receiver. Ma'am, Professor Subiat Chatterjee from GSI. He can meet you in 1 hour. Tell him yes, where? He'll come here. While they waited, Meera laid out a large map of Kolkata on the table, marked each crime scene with a red pin. The spiral pattern was undeniable now. Starting from College Street, spiraling outward, each pin slightly farther from the center than the last. Vikram studied the map. Ma'am, if this is a route, what kind of route spirals outward like this? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's not a bus route, not a taxi route. Those follow fixed paths. Delivery route? Maybe. But what kind of delivery happens between midnight and 4 a.m. and follows a spiral? Bose brought in tea, set it on the table. Newspaper distribution, ma'am. Meera looked up. What? In 1989, newspapers were distributed early morning, between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. The distributors used hand carts or bicycles. They'd start from a central depot and spiral outward, dropping papers at subscriber addresses. The room went silent. ACP Meera Rathod felt the electric sensation, the feeling when a case began to unlock. Say that again. Newspaper distribution, early morning, hand carts, spiral routes from central depots. She stood, walked to the map, traced the red pins with her finger. A newspaper distributor would be on the streets at 2 a.m., wouldn't be questioned, would have a legitimate reason to be in all these areas, would follow a regular route, and would be strong enough from pushing a hand cart to lift a 30-kilogram stone. Vikram was already on his tablet. Ma'am, in 1989, the major Bengali newspapers were Anandabazar Patrika, Bartaman and Ajkal, plus English papers like The Telegraph and Statesman. And they all had distribution depots? Yes, multiple depots across the city. Each depot would service a specific area. Meera circled the center of the spiral on the map. College Street. Find out which depot serviced this area in 1989. Get me the employment records. I want names of every newspaper distributor who worked the night shift between September 1989 and February 1990. Bose nodded. Ma'am, that might take time. These are 23-year-old employment records. Then we don't waste time. Start making calls now. A constable poked his head in. Ma'am, Professor Chatterjee is here. Send him in. Professor Subir Chatterjee entered the room. 73 years old, white hair, thick glasses, kadigota, carrying a worn leather satchel. He looked at the crime scene photos spread across the table. Then at ACP Meera Rathod. ACP Rathod, I presume? I remember the Stoneman case. I was a junior geologist in 1989. We were consulted briefly, but the police never followed up. Why not? Because we told them something they didn't want to hear. That all 12 stones likely came from the same source, the same granite type, same quarry region. Meera's pulse quickened. You tested them? We photographed them, analyzed the photos, the grain structure, mineral composition visible in the images, weathering patterns, all consistent with Purulia granite, a specific type common in West Bengal. How common? Very common, ma'am, used in construction across Kolkata for over a century. That's why the police lost interest. Too common to trace. But if someone had a stockpile, a personal collection of Purulia granite? Professor Chatterjee adjusted his glasses. Then yes, that would narrow it significantly. Stonemasons, sculptors, restoration workers, they often keep stone supplies. But tracking that 23 years later would be impossible unless we know where to look. She pointed at the map. Professor, if someone was storing Purulia granite in this area in 1989, where would it most likely be? What businesses? What professions? He studied the map. College Street area. Many old buildings, constant restoration work, several stonemason shops, at least 3 sculpture studios I can recall. And the College Street market had several building material suppliers. Are any of them still operating? Some, yes, the market has changed. But stonework is a family business in Bengal. The shops pass from father to son. Meera turned to Vikram. Get a list. Every stone-related business within 1 kilometer of College Street. Current and 1989. We'll visit them all. Bose's phone buzzed. He checked the message. Ma'am, the Telegraph newspaper has responded. They're pulling their 1989 distribution records. Should have a list by tomorrow morning. Tell them we need it tonight. Offer to send a constable to pick it up in person. Yes, ma'am. Professor Chatterjee packed his satchel. Ma'am, if you need further geological analysis, I'm happy to help. But I must warn you, proving a stone came from a specific collection after 23 years with no physical evidence, it's nearly impossible. Nearly isn't never, Professor. Thank you for your time. After he left, ACP Meera Rathod stood at the window, looked out at Kolkata's evening traffic. Vikram approached quietly. Ma'am, you really think we can solve this? After 13 years? No forensics, no physical evidence, just photos and patterns. She didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about the 12 victims, 12 men who'd been invisible in life, invisible in death. Until now. Vikram, do you know what the biggest advantage of time is? What, ma'am? Distance. In 1989, the investigators were in the middle of panic. Media pressure, political pressure. 12 bodies in 6 months. They were reacting, scrambling. Now we have distance. We can see patterns they couldn't see, connect dots they didn't know existed. So you think we can solve it? She turned to him. I think we can find the truth. Whether that leads to an arrest or just understanding, we'll see. By 8 p.m., they had a plan. Tomorrow morning, Vikram would collect the newspaper distribution records, cross-reference names with addresses in the College Street area. Bose would compile a list of stone-related businesses from 1989. They'd start visiting them tomorrow afternoon. And ACP Meera Rathod would do what she did best. She'd walk the streets, map the connections, let grid sight show her what 13 years of cold had hidden. Back at the hotel, Meera ordered room service, ate mechanically while reviewing her notes. Her phone rang. Arjun's number. She answered. Hello, beta. Ma, Daddy says you're in Kolkata now. Yes, beta, for work. When will you come back? I don't know yet. Soon. That's what you always say. His voice was flat, not accusing, just resigned. She closed her eyes. I know, Arjun, I'm sorry, but this is important. Your work is always important. She didn't have an answer to that because he was right. Beta, I promise I'll be home as soon as I can, and we'll finish your science project together. Okay, Mom, bye. He hung up before she could say she loved him. ACP Meera. Rathod sat with the phone in her hand for a long moment. Then she set it down, turned back to her notes. Somewhere in this city, a man had killed 12 people, had walked away, had never been caught. That man might be dead now, might be in prison, might be living a normal life, having forgotten what he'd done. But Meera would find him, or find the truth of him, because someone had to remember the 12 men he'd killed. Someone had to speak for them. Chunk 3. Ready to copy. She spread the crime scene photos across the bed one more time. 12 faces, 12 crushed skulls, 12 lives ended. I see you, she whispered. All of you, and I won't forget. At 11:47 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. ACP Rathod. The voice on the other end was elderly, male, Bengali accented, trembling slightly. Ma'am, my name is Deepak Ghosh. I used to work for the Telegraph, newspaper distribution, College Street Depot. I heard someone was asking about the old distributors. ACP Meera Rathod sat up. Yes, Mr. Ghosh, we are. Can you help us? I don't know if I should, but it's been 13 years and I've thought about it every day. Thought about what? There was a long pause. Rain hammered the hotel window. Finally, there was a man, Vikram Bose, not the inspector, different person. He worked with me in 1989. Night distribution shift. He stopped showing up in February 1990. Just disappeared. No notice. No goodbye. Meera's hand tightened on the phone. Where did he live? College Street, above a stonemason's shop. His father was a sculptor. They had granite blocks stored in the shop. The room seemed to freeze. Mr. Ghosh, where is this man now? I don't know, Ma'am. I tried to find him once. In 1995. The shop was closed, the family gone, no one knew where. Do you remember his exact address? Yes, ma'am, 47 College Street, 2nd floor, above Ghosh and Son Stoneworks. Meera was already writing. Mr. Ghosh, thank you. Can you meet us tomorrow morning? I'll need you to give a formal statement. Yes, ma'am, but please be careful. I don't know what happened to Vikram Bose, but he was strange, quiet. He used to carry heavy stones in his cart, said he was delivering them to construction sites, but I never saw anyone order them. After he hung up, Meera immediately called Vikram Singh. He answered groggily, Ma'am, it's midnight. Vikram, I need you to run a search. Name Vikram Bose, male, College Street area. Worked as newspaper distributor in 1989. Father was a sculptor. See if there's anything in the system. Criminal records, missing person reports, anything. She heard him typing. Running it now, ma'am. This might take a few minutes. While she waited, she pulled up the map of College Street on her phone. Located 47 College Street. It was exactly at the center of the spiral. The first crime scene was 150 meters away. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anticipation. 13 years, 12 murders, 0 arrests, and now a name, an address, a witness. Vikram came back on the line. Ma'am, I found something. Vikram Bose, born 1965, worked for the Telegraph 1988 to 1990. Father, Nitai Bose, sculptor. Last known address, 47 College Street. What else? That's where it gets strange, ma'am. In February 1990, Nitai Bose filed a missing person report. His son Vikram vanished, never found. Case went cold. The father reported him missing? Yes, ma'am, the report is still open. Meera's mind was racing. The killer reported missing by his own father? Or Vikram, does the report say when Vikram Bose was last seen? February 15th, 1990, the day after the 12th murder. The room was silent except for the rain. February 15th, the day after the last killing. The suspect vanishes. Coincidence or something else? Ma'am. Vikram's voice was tense. What do you want to do? Meera looked at the crime scene photos on her bed. 12 dead men and 1 missing suspect. Disappeared the day after the last murder. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., we go to 47 College Street, bring forensic equipment. If that building is still standing, we're going to search it. Yes, ma'am, do you think he's still there? ACP Meera Rathod stared at the photos, the pattern, the spiral, the newspaper route, the granite stones, and the missing distributor who vanished the day after murder number 12. I don't know, Vikram, but tomorrow we find out. She hung up, set the phone down, stared at the map, at the red pin marking 47 College Street, the center of the spiral, the source. Outside, thunder rolled. The monsoon intensified. In the darkness, Meera whispered to the 12 victims whose photos surrounded her. I'm coming for the truth, for all of you, I promise. And somewhere in the flooded streets of Kolkata, at 47 College Street, the Stone Shadow's secrets waited. 13 years of silence, about to be broken.